Naomi had always been the kind of woman who believed in fairy tales. She dreamed of a love so powerful it would sweep her off her feet, a love that would make her feel cherished and safe. So, when she met David, a charming and handsome man with a smile that could melt ice, she thought she had finally found the love of her life. He was everything she had ever wanted: attentive, kind, and caring. He promised her the world, and she believed him. At first, everything seemed perfect. They were happy, building a life together like most couples. David treated Naomi like she was a queen, and she adored him. But something didn't feel right. There were moments, small glimpses, where his true nature slipped through. A sharp tone, a sudden flash of anger, a harsh word quickly masked by a loving apology. She brushed it off, convincing herself it was nothing, that all relationships had their ups and downs. Naomi's older sister, Rachel, wasn't convinced. Protective by nature, Rachel had always looked out for Naomi, and she had her reservations about David. There's something about him that doesn't sit right, she told me more than once. He's too perfect, too smooth. I tried to reassure her. Trust Naomi. She knows what she's doing. But Rachel's unease never faded. Then one fateful night, tragedy struck. Rachel was found dead in her apartment. No one could believe it. The police ruled it an accident. Maybe a fall. Maybe something else. One of those things that happen. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It didn't add up. Rachel was careful. She was strong.
She wouldn't have just fallen.
I kept my suspicions to myself for a while, but they gnawed at me, refusing to be ignored. Then, a month after Rachel's death, Naomi received a letter from the police. I watched the color drain from her face as she read it. They were reopening Rachel's case. New evidence had surfaced. A witness had come forward, and the most shocking part, the primary suspect was David. David had been seen arguing with Rachel the night she died. His fingerprints had been found at the scene. Naomi was in denial at first. "No," she whispered. David couldn't. He wouldn't. But the more she read, the more reality closed in around her. How could he? How could the man she loved, the man she trusted, be responsible for her sister's death? Her hands trembled as she gripped the letter, her heart shattering piece by piece. That night, Naomi confronted David. The air between them was thick with tension. When she demanded the truth, his expression barely changed. His voice was cold, devoid of remorse. "I did what I had to do," he said, his gaze steady, unwavering. Rachel was in the way. Naomi gasped, stepping back as if he had struck her. You killed her?" David didn't even flinch. "You were too blind to see it, Naomi, but I knew exactly what I was doing." Her world collapsed. Her knees buckled, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The man she had built her life around, the man she had trusted with her heart, had taken her sister's life without a second thought. It wasn't just murder. It was the deepest betrayal she could imagine. Tears streamed down Naomi's face as she made the hardest call of her life. Within hours, the police arrived, arresting David on the spot. The mask had finally slipped, revealing the monster beneath. The trial was long and grueling, but Naomi remained strong. She had to be. She wasn't just fighting for justice for Rachel. She was fighting to reclaim her own peace. In the end, David was convicted, but no punishment could bring back the sister she had lost. Naomi may have lost Rachel, but she didn't lose herself. Through the pain, she found strength she never knew she had. She learned the hardest lesson of all. Trust is everything. And when it's broken, it can destroy you. But it doesn't have to define you. Naomi's healing was slow, filled with restless nights and endless tears. The world felt emptier without Rachel's laughter. She often visited her sister's grave, whispering the things she wished she could say in person. Months passed, and Naomi found solace in therapy and support groups. She connected with others who had faced betrayal and loss, drawing strength from their resilience. She moved to a new city, not to escape the past, but to build a future where Rachel's memory would push her forward, not hold her back. She learned to trust again, but cautiously. Love, she realized, wasn't about grand gestures or perfect words. It was about honesty, respect, and safety. David had stolen so much from her, but she refused to let him steal her future. Years later, standing at Rachel's grave, Naomi spoke with confidence. I miss you, Rachel, but I'm living for both of us now. As she walked away, the wind carried the faintest whisper through the trees. Naomi continued her journey of self-discovery, immersing herself in work that brought her purpose.
She volunteered at shelters, helping women who had faced similar betrayals, offering them the support she had once needed.
She became an advocate, speaking out against domestic violence and emotional manipulation, ensuring Rachel's death was not in vain. In time, Naomi allowed herself to love again. It wasn't easy. Trust took years to rebuild, but she met someone who showed her that real love wasn't about control or deception. It was about understanding, patience, and respect. And as she walked hand in hand with this new chapter of her life, Rachel would always be with her, guiding her towards happiness she had thought was lost forever. The scars of her past remained, but they no longer defined her. Naomi had transformed her pain into strength, and in doing so she found the life she truly deserved. One built on truth, resilience, and love, the kind she had always dreamed of, but now truly understood. As she stood in the warmth of the setting sun, she closed her eyes and felt the peace she had fought so hard for. A new beginning was hers to embrace, and she walked forward, unafraid of what lay ahead.